Hey, I'm Sarah Tegander, international speaker and trainer for a $40 million division in healthcare. With over a decade of experience working with healthcare providers, I believe that a healthcare practice should do more than just pay back student loans. Each week, I'll bring you the tips, tricks, and experts you need to build your practice both on and offline. Smart people take notes, so grab a pen or open up the Notes app on your phone as we dive into the Health of Your Business podcast. Hey, my friends, you guys know that I'm working on helping you all create your signature programs. That's what I want to do. I want to work with you on your curriculums. I want to work with you on your fulfillment. I want to help make a really great experience. But you know what I find really disheartening for me up until this point is not everyone I meet who's a provider wants to do the same. A lot of people love being part of the hospital system, which is great too. And I love that. I love my doctors. Please, if I have a baby, I'm having it in the hospital. If I need a surgery, it's happening in the hospital. I also really want there to still be people that are part of that system for when I need it. But I like that there's a lot of providers that are thinking in the back of their minds, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way that I can provide some functional care, some lifestyle support. But you know what? I can't do it myself. I can't do it with the tech. I can't do it with the support, the customer service, the health coaches, and all of that comes along with it. Those things that I help those independent providers that want to create something on their own with their own face, their own look, their own brand, usually in a cash-based setting. That's where it typically is. And if that's not what you want to do, until this point, I had nowhere to send you. Until now, I was just recently at a conference with my friends over at Mindshare, and I met a gentleman. His name's James Maskell. The second that I saw him, I said, this is the person. This is the solution for the people that I can't help, the people I can't work with. And James is on a similar mission to me to flatten the curve of healthcare costs. He spent the past decade innovating at the cross-section of functional medicine and community. You guys know how much I love community. I love my Facebook group. I love building communities. I love hanging out in communities. He's created the Functional Forum, the world's largest integrative medicine conference with record-setting participation online. He's growing physician communities around the world. He wrote a best-selling book by the name Evolution of Medicine, and he helps through that organization prepare health professionals for the new era of personalized participatory medicine. But he's got a new project that we're talking about today. This came out of, lockdowns and shifts and pivots. It's called HealCommunity. And he's delivering virtual group episodes of care in partnerships with clinics, health systems, and payers. What do we mean by payers, guys? He's partnering with the insurance model. He's an in-demand speaker. And so I cannot believe that we had him here on the Health of Your Business podcast. Really excited to be able to share what James is doing. And I'm excited that I can refer you to James if you are someone that really wants to be able to deliver this kind of care for your patients, but stay within your current system of medicine. Now, I used to always be like, great, that's awesome. As long as people are giving good care, as long as people are giving options to their patients, as long as people are giving that kind of lifestyle changes, lifestyle medicine approach, I am so happy about that. Not everyone is ready for their own program. Not everyone is ready for, that kind of precision nutrition, precision medicine. And I have a system for you now through James's HealCommunity. So check out the show notes because we created a special page just for you where you can go ahead and you can tell them that I sent you. And without further ado, let's go and hear from James. James Maskell, when I saw you on stage, it took me all of 1 second to say, he's coming on my podcast. So the fact that you went right ahead and said yes so easily. I don't even know if you remember that we sat next to each other during the the contest talk. So, this is our second time hanging out here in the same room together, other than the time I saw you speak. But welcome to the health of your business. And I'm so happy I get to share you with my audience, because you had one of those 30-minute lectures that it wasn't something that's going to change my life, but it's something I want to bring to people because it's that life changing. And so how did you get here, James?
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long and interesting journey. I'm 16 years into it. I guess I'm actually 41 years into it, because I was the weird kid at school that did natural health. My parents forced it upon me. I saw a chiropractor and a homeopath, and I was the only kid in school who had to be given antibiotics, whose parents had to be called before I was given antibiotics, right? So I didn't realize that was weird until I got to school and realized no one knew what any of these things were. And I had a sort of a rebellious phase where I thought I needed to be an investment banker, and my parents were insane. And then, through my degree in economics and health economics, I realized, man, we're really on a crazy trajectory, in America and in the UK, where I grew up, where, in my lifetime, we're going to run out of money paying for healthcare. And I just sort of had a moment of intuition that something about my weird childhood was actually sort of prescient of what needed to happen in order to solve that problem. So I quit my job as an investment banker 16 years ago, and I moved to America. And the very first thing I did was work in a clinic in Georgia, rural Georgia. And the people who owned that clinic, they had been in the spa industry for a number of years, the day spa industry. And as a result, in 2005, they knew how to run a cash business, right? They really understood rebooking, marketing, getting people through the door, rebooking them into other appointments, maximizing retail ratios, and they had an operations manual this thick, because they understood all of that. And little did I know that at that moment, I was working in the best managed functional, integrative, naturopathic practice in the country still that I've ever seen, after seeing thousands of them since then. And that was the beginning of the journey, where I started to see that functional medicine could really impact people, could reverse chronic illness. And since then, just been on a sort of a mission to really understand it, really understand all aspects of the industry. And then for the last 8 years, kind of looking to make it available to most people in an efficient way as possible, so that we could actually, flatten the curve of healthcare costs and create, massive health across the population.
It's so interesting that you, that story about the clinic in Georgia. When I had my daughter, and she just turned 8 last week. It was around that time that the American Association of Pediatrics said that breastfed babies needed to supplement with vitamin D. This was kind of a newer thing that had come out. And so my pediatrician weirdly told me this recommendation. And when I go to the hairdresser, I walk out with shampoo and a mousse and whatever I need. The fact that she didn't have a vitamin D, and I was a new mom that had to go and I knew enough to make me dangerous. Like you said, James, now I'm okay, well, what form of vitamin D do babies need? What dosing do vitamin D? What brand? She had no answer. She was I don't know, go ask the guys at Whole Foods. I was that's the answer. You're a doctor and you're going to go send me to a, hourly wage someone at Whole Foods. That's the best answer you have for me. Not even a list of recommendations. And throughout the years, I've actually, for my best marketing idea, I'm going to tell everyone a secret I've never told anyone before. My best healthcare marketing ideas come from my two friends, Britt Siva and Daniela Warner, who Britt works in the hairdresser industry and Daniela works in the spa industry. And I'm I don't get it. My friends are doing that in spas and in, personal care. Let's just transfer it over to healthcare. We're still 100%. Driven by women. We're still driven by the same people making the decisions. So
yeah.
Now the truth comes out. Everyone knows where I get my brilliant ideas.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, learning from other industries that have done it right is critical. And I think functional medicine needs to learn from other industries that have been around a lot longer, because they've obviously got more penetration into the American mindset. And that's part of the journey for practitioners, is how do we make it obvious that people should be seeking out this kind of care? And then how do we deliver that care in a way that is like affordable enough for everyone to get it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I love how you are positioning yourself as part of a movement. I mean, that's what this is. And I mean, I see this you and I, we're all about like building communities and being in communities and connecting people together. And finally, I think healthcare is realizing that. I mean, the blue zones, like get yourself a tribe of people and you will live longer. That's one of the principles of the blue zones. Why now though? Why now is the healthcare system poised for this movement?
Well, chronic disease is a mess. It's growing to, ridiculous rates, more than half of the population. The conventional medicine system really has no idea what to do with it. Like it just can't throw enough drugs at it. And it doesn't, the outcomes are poor. We have the first decrease in life expectancy in America in human history, like sustained decrease, not just like World War I, but like a sustained decrease caused by largely pharmaceuticals. And then also with COVID coming along now, you also have large swathes of the population realizing that one, the health matters and resilience matters, but also, like you said, like the doctors don't really know what to do. And that's a great example you gave of vitamin D there, where, your vitamin D status could be a huge determinant of your immune resilience, and yet the doctor doesn't know what to do. And just compare that example you gave, with that vitamin D example with a drug. Like if they were prescribing a drug, there's a whole system ready to support you to take that drug. There's a knowledgeable pharmacist, right? There's a pharmacy at every corner. There's like consistency across the prescription. There's a follow-up. Like if you get a prescription, you're getting a text message from CVS every week until you tell them to stop, saying like it's time for you to renew your prescription. So there's a whole system built around helping people take that, but there's no system for this medicine. And actually that's the lifestyle behavior changes that are associated with functional lifestyle naturopathic medicine. It's way harder than taking a pill. Right? Changing what you eat requires so many changes. Like it has to change where you get your food, how you shop, what you buy, how you cook it, and then how you deliver it. So, what I've just been spending a lot of time thinking about is like, how do you provide that same sort of like support so that if you recommend a diet change, that someone actually does it? And, ultimately, if we can't get that right, the hope of functional medicine becoming a new standard of care is done.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad is an obstetrician gynecologist and a fellow of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine. He became an OBGYN because OBGYNs do the most surgery out of any specialties. And so he said, I want to do surgery. He loves. He's a very highly skilled surgeon. And so, thinking about that, my dad, who then when he went into lifestyle medicine, needed to start teaching people how to grocery shop, how to cook, how to, put together functional movement. But you can't get paid your high surgical fees unless you have a very large group, right? In a big network, just starting out like in his waiting room and in little community centers and things like that. Like it's a bigger ramp up than when he did his first surgery as a doctor and billed for it. He got paid a rate, whether it was his first time or his 500th time. That was his rate for surgery. What I really love that you're doing is you're solving that problem that my dad faced when he got into lifestyle medicine, that there was no network. And that's what the support needs to be. And those stories that you shared in the lecture that I attended with you, you shared a video from the BBC, and it just showed how a community can go ahead and shift when that support's in place. And the support doesn't have to come from the highly skilled surgeons who are maybe like making the recommendations and rolling out the programs, because they're the ones that are influential to maybe, nudge a patient over the edge. Like they really should use their influence to tell people, because people they will do whatever their doctors and their surgeons tell them to do. My dad's had patients that have said to him, well, my cardiologist didn't tell me to eat like that. He didn't actually ask me anything about what I ate. My dad's like, that's the problem. The problem is that he didn't ask. But you're saying that, this whole system here. So tell me a little bit about how HealCommunity and what you're doing can shortcut that success for providers.
Well, look, just for context, I spent the last 10 years from like roughly 2008 to roughly 2018, helping practitioners with the non-clinical aspects of business development, right? From working in that clinic, I understood how to run a practice. Also, at that time, the internet was showing up and allowing things to happen that had never happened before, like, automated education, right? So, that's what I did for a long time, and it was amazing. But I also recognized that, what generally I was doing was helping doctors leave the system and start their own like functional medicine practice. And while that was like super valuable for the patient, super awesome for the doctor, and really like doing the Lord's work, in a serious way, it was also meaning that we weren't solving the original problem that I set out to solve, right? Which is, how do you flatten the curve on healthcare costs? Because 70% of the population will never engage in whatever that is that I just created, right? High ticket offers, programs, like maybe 50%. If you get your marketing really good, could you convince someone who makes 60 grand a year, to part with a couple $1,000s to do functional medicine? Possibly. But ultimately, what about everyone else? And then, you have to be really sophisticated, and you're just now doing that in one location. By far in America, the majority of people have Medicare, Medicaid, or commercial insurance, like more than half of the population. And in general, it's tricky to get them to go outside of that. So what I saw was the two biggest issues is that, right, is that, we want to try and make it easy for people to use functional medicine and actually get functional medicine without having to leave, their current medical system. And two, ultimately, like I was saying before, is that I know what's happening in a lot of functional medicine is that patients are getting the protocol, and the protocol is amazing, and it's exactly what the patient needs to do. And yet the patient has no way of really executing that, right? It's way too complicated. It's way too detailed. And they're just sitting at home, just being overwhelmed by all of that they're being asked to do on the dietary changes, on the lifestyle changes, never mind the supplement regime or the testing that they're doing. Like, I've got my Genova test here, like it's a 15-step thing to get that thing done. And like, it's all of that is super overwhelming, right? So I started to recognize that there was a huge missing piece, which is like, if we, what is the optimal way to come into functional medicine that gives you the best chance of success? And after I really, thought about it a long time, I think like, what's not the best entry point is a super long appointment that's super overwhelming with loads of new ideas and loads of new things to do. And what's probably the best entry point is to be part of a group of people that are on the same path as you, with some people who are further along the path, right, who have already started to implement lifestyle changes and have seen great results. And then to be in a sort of a long enough episode of care that you can then start to implement new things, to try them out, to get feedback, to see progress, and to build momentum for your health. And ultimately, that's not supplements and labs and so forth. That's like the real fundamentals of health creation: what you eat, how you deal with your stress, how you deal with your sleep, like, all of that stuff. And so ultimately, last year when the pandemic hit, I'd just written the book, The Community Cure, which is all about this sort of group functional medicine movement that's already been happening for years, and sort of documenting all the people who are doing it amazingly. That came out in January 2020. Then the pandemic hits, and the whole of group medicine is destroyed. Never mind the fledgling functional medicine group industry, but what about, Alcoholics Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, addiction groups, all just like wiped out, right? And the impact of that is tremendously painful, right? To addiction outcomes, drug overdose outcomes, everything. So ultimately, we just started to think about how we could do that in a virtual way, and that became HealCommunity. So now with HealCommunity, we have a structure where a doctor, any doctor that bills insurance, or nurse practitioner, who's billing insurance and has a practice, whether that be a private practice, a group, a hospital system, or otherwise, ACO, they can prescribe an episode of functional medicine group care. We deliver the whole thing, soup to nuts, right? Not just hiring the coaches, training the coaches, delivering the curriculum, and having the technology platform, but also customer support, tech support, all the boring, annoying details that get in the way of people doing group medicine. And I've been trying to convince people to do group medicine since I heard about it. 8 years, and it's normally the non-clinical aspects that freak practitioners out, because they're like, well, who's going to do this, and how do I do this, and never mind the room and the parking and all these other considerations. And we're just like, this just reduces all the friction and makes it super easy now for anyone who's in conventional care or in functional medicine or lifestyle care and still taking insurance to get the benefit of this without having to build the whole system themselves.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a franchise model, but they don't have to, it's way easier.
Well, they get to own it. They're still the owner of the practice, cool. Right? And they just, and ultimately they have this new infrastructure that they don't have to pay for or manage, that they only pay when they use. And ultimately, we can also scale. So if you have a big group with 10 doctors with 50,000 patients in the list, if you got 10% of those interested in functional medicine and 5,000 patients, we could deal with it. And that's the beauty of the fully virtual system.
Love that. Love that. Who is it not for, James? Are there any types of providers? I know my dentist has some interest in lifestyle, functional medicine. Is it anyone that bills insurance, or there's specific providers?
Yeah, you have to practice medicine. So it's really MD, DO, NP. That's really who we've seen it is for. It's not really a fit for chiropractors, even if they bill insurance, because in most states they're not practicing medicine. It's not really a fit for dentists. Honestly, it's not really a fit for the doctors that I've been working with for the past 10 years, trying to get them to go to a cash practice, because ultimately, part of what you do when you market your practice is you kind of sell yourself, and you sell essentially your time. And what are you convincing people to do? You're saying hey, the medical system is not great for the needs that you have. If you part with your money to come and see me, you're going to get a completely different experience. Convincing those same then patients that they need to be part of a group and pay for it with cash doesn't really work. But there's this huge 70% of the population that's never had access to this kind of care, knows that it exists, right? Because they access podcasts, they access summits, they've read the books, but they just can't afford the $2,000 to walk into the functional medicine clinic down the road. And so they're hungry for it. And so we're really just focused on that part of the population. And actually our most excited population is the Medicare population, because ultimately they're trying to conserve their dollars for retirement. Medicare pays great for it. They want to take best advantage of their, insurance. And in this way they can.
I'm thrilled. And I hope I can get this in the hands fast enough of, the systems that my grandparents go to for their, their medical needs. And those people that we haven't, been able to convince to leave that system and go to a cash-based provider. And I love what we're doing, because why I really want to endorse you and figure out, how we can continue to have these conversations, in my community, is because, I have had that same uphill battle, James, that you have, where, it's just what I'm doing and helping people create their own signature product. It's not for everyone. Program is not for everyone. And, to be able to have, you as an option to say, and when I heard you speak, I said, this is it. This is the answer that other people are asking me for, that I'm like, oh, you're not a fit for what I'm doing, and I don't have a solution for you. And it was like, oh, like you came from the sky, James, with this system. And I can see how much of a labor of love this has been. I saw your passion. And I hope that people, do that due diligence and figure out, book a call with James's team, or whatever your next steps are. I know we have a URL we're going to share with people, but, just to be able to vet that out and figure out if it is a fit, because it just sounds so great. I mean, and you have a couple different options for people, right? Is it,
Yeah, we have two different kind of programs. One that is like roughly like immune inflammatory focus. So that would be like digestive patients, autoimmune patients, Lyme, mold, long COVID, like that kind of grouping. And then there's sort of like a metabolic bucket, which is sort of weight loss, type 2 diabetes, heart disease bucket. So those are the two kind of sort of programs that we run right now. And we're adding more, but we've had cardiologists, we've had pain medicine doctors, we've had OBGYNs, we've had doctors that deal with rheumatology, as well as primary care, family med, and internal medicine. So that's been really exciting to kind of see that. And, you know, just one thing is that we can prove our outcomes, right? We track all the patients at the beginning and the end. So we know that our groups, like 75% of people that have depression and fatigue, see a noticeable increase over the group. It's like 60-ish% with anxiety and with chronic pain, because chronic pain, all of these issues are biopsychosocial, right? In nature, there's a social and a psychological element. And if you're not dealing with that in your practice, if you're just providing like a biological input, you can't solve it at that level. And so, you know, we're super excited to, you know, have that. And, you know, just coming back to your parents and, you know, their age and those age groups, you know, those people are lonely, right? This has been an intensely lonely time for people who couldn't leave, who are high risk of COVID, who were in fear because, you know, you see, if you look at the numbers, you see like older people don't do well with COVID and younger people do fine in general, right? And so there's a lot of fear, and then there's isolation too. And so what we found is when you put those people into groups and they're starting to just connect with other people through the portal, it's a life-changing moment for them too. So I was really excited about, you know, the opportunity to connect. And, you know, ultimately what we created here is a way for the whole of the rest of medicine to deliver these sort of functional medicine-ish outcomes in a scalable way.
It took a great leap. You put together a fantastic product. Your outcomes speak for themselves. I mean, that was what was so impressive for me. So what do we put together? HealCommunity.com/Sarah. And you can find out. I always love that. James, I always say I'm the girl that says, like, I got a guy for that. You know, it doesn't matter. My neighbor says, like, I need an electrician. I'm like, I got a guy for that. Like, I have the doctor, I have the this, I have the that. And I finally have the guy. Now, if you want to deliver functional medicine, but you want to stay within your current, you know, insurance-based system, yes, please do that. And I got a guy, and that's James Maskell, and at HealCommunity.com/Sarah. So,
well, look, this, you know, just going to your business model too, definitely go there. And we'd love to speak to you, but like, you know, you could create a signature program on insurance, right? What is that signature program? It's an initial intake with you that could be like 15 or 20 minutes on insurance. It could be a prescription of this group that then runs, and you're making money in the background because you're essentially billing for services that you don't have to execute. And we can take you through all the details there. And then interspersed in that 6-month episode of care could be, you know, a specific supplement regime that you've come up with, or, you know, specific education modules that you want to deliver. So, you know, you're in the business, Sarah, of helping doctors create their signature program. What I think is really possible now is that we would do the heavy lifting of the behavior change. You can sprinkle on whatever else you want on top. And ultimately, you know, what's most exciting is that you can be creating income for your practice. It's not passive income, because there's definitely things that need to happen in your clinic in order to make it insurance billable and get everyone paid, but it's certainly scaled income, right? Because you're billing 20 people's insurance for the same, you know, time that you're spending. And there's no more efficient way of making money in the insurance system than group visits.
Oh, I've been such a fan of group visits for a really long time. I've spoken on other people's podcasts about putting together specifically weight loss models, and it's just that you undid all the barriers that I hear: the tech, the customer support, the coaches, the programming, the whole thing. You eliminated all of that, which is the biggest burden to entry. And so that's why I'm just really thrilled that you came into my life, that you came into my Rolodex, that you're here, that I can send people to you. So James,
well, it would only come off the back of being like the practice management guy for this long. Because ultimately what I realized is that, like, I understand all of those friction points, right? Is it hiring the coaches is annoying? How to get the coaches paid is annoying. Managing those coaches is annoying. All of that stuff. Like, I understand it all. I was in it for that long, and I just spent a lot of time thinking about this, and it's been 16 years in. And really, COVID changed the game because telemedicine is reimbursable as in-person visits. And so we can become an extension of your practice team, virtually, which was never really possible before. And so it's just like the universe is conspiring to want this to happen.
Yes. I'm with you on that. It's perfect. Yeah. The line and how it all came together was so great. And I'm really excited for people to take advantage of this and to help support you and grow. And I can't wait till, at least in the circles that would know it, you'd become a household name. And I can say, I knew James right when he was launching this thing. And I'm really excited to cheerlead this cause, because it's a beautiful thing. So, and I know you're probably like me, you're probably doing it for your daughters. I do what I do. So healthcare is around for my 3 kids. I just want the best practitioners to still be in business, delivering the best care. And I'm like, if that's what I want, I've got to make it happen. I've got to go write those programs, champion those providers, be a part of the conversation. You can't complain about it. You got to take action. So I like that you did that too. Yeah.
Yeah, we're on the same team. Thanks for having me. And yeah, go to HealCommunity.com/Sarah, put in your details. Myself or Jen from my team will be in touch, and we can talk you through exactly how it works. And really grateful for the opportunity to communicate with your team and your community.
Thanks, James. You're thebomb.com. All right. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much for listening. And I want to help you have a healthy business inside and out. If you've been trying to market and sell your services and things just aren't clicking for you, then we'd like to help you have a major shift and feel completely confident in how you move people through a health journey. I want to invite you to take advantage of a special free health program discovery session where you'll work together with one of our coaches to create an empowering vision for your health business success. Find hidden barriers that may be limiting your growth. Feel the confidence successful health providers embody in their business, and grab some inspiration for yourself to have a highly converting, highly successful signature health program. Head over to sarahtegender.com/work with Sarah to grab one of our limited spots.